We don't have a lot of time left, and I wish that we could do this for hours, and I would love to get invited back if it's possible. I know that we're all super busy. So many more questions about the campaign and future and what your aspirations are. However, I also want to be a little bit practical for the audience.
Sure.
A little bit. I want to put on my pragmatist hat for a second. Because of your profession, because you're an immigrant attorney, I wanted to create a little bit of some hypothetical scenarios that we can clip out from this episode, because I think that the audience could really benefit from this. There's a lot of noise out there in the world, and I think the immigrant community, regardless, this isn't Texas specific, this isn't Mexican specific, this is everyone, right? To your point earlier about like your first assignment being an Iraqi woman, right? People are trying to survive, and they don't have time to go look up the laws and the Constitution and the things like that. So I wanted to kind of throw out some scenarios, and from your attorney perspective, can you give me what the best thing to do in that scenario if you find yourself in that scenario,
yes.
right? So if you're an undocumented worker,
okay,
and ICE shows up at your job, what should you be thinking about? What are your rights? What would be the best case scenario in that scenario in terms of decision making for that person?
Well, okay, before we get to the worker, I would have advice for the company, the boss,
okay,
the owner, the manager, whatever.
Okay.
There are ways that employers can protect their laborers, and just like a house, is protected, and the cops can't come in without a warrant, that is also true for a place of business.
Okay.
But it only applies to the private place of the business. So businesses should mark the private places so that it's clear where ICE can't go in. So I think there is some burden and onus on employers, organizations, churches, places of business to know and have your own safety plan to protect the people inside.
I didn't even know that. That's fantastic.
And there's we have a packet that we've created for businesses so people can ask us about it, but
we'll link it.
Okay, yeah. Great. So there's a layer there. Now, workers who are undocumented, if ICE is like coming to look for you, I mean, hopefully they can't get in, but if they come and they've got someone on a list, you're not going to be able to stop ICE from arresting you in that moment if it's ICE. So you have to kind of cooperate, unfortunately. I don't think it's helpful to show documents from another country,
okay,
passport or matrícula consular. I just don't think it's useful to do that stuff. If you got a green card or certificate of citizenship, U.S. passport, carry that on you in this day and age. But all the foreign ID docs, leave them at home.
Got it.
When you get before ICE, basically they're going to detain you and they're going to take you to a processing center. The goal of ICE is to get this person out of this country immediately. So they are going to try to obtain an agreement to deport that person. And they're going to say whatever they need to say. They lie, they threaten, they cajole. They will say, you don't qualify for anything. You're going to be here for 10 years. We're going to throw you in a detention center, etc. So you have to, I think in those moments, be very brave, refuse to sign anything, and ask to talk to a lawyer. As soon as you get transferred to a detention center, call your emergency contact and have that person reach out to the lawyer. That's in the moment. But what I would say is, okay, do you know when the fires happened in California and
last
people
year
talked about like the fire was 15 minutes away, like I couldn't even think about what to grab out of my house, like some of them didn't even get their pets. I bet you all those people wished that they had taken an hour the day before to think like, if a fire were rolling down the mountain, what would I grab?
Right.
This is a version of that. So immigrants know that there is a fire coming down the mountain sometime in the future. So take the time now, before ICE is in front of you, to make your safety plan. That means consult with an immigration lawyer, grab all your documents that are important and put them in a safe place, and please, for the love of God, have a plan for the children. I just talked to somebody this morning who was detained and her nursing infant was left at home with a neighbor, and there's no plan for that baby. Every parent who is undocumented needs to know who's going to care for their baby. They need to have the caregiver authorization set up, and they need to talk to that person about, you need to be within 15 minutes of me 24/7 with your phone on, because people's kids are being taken by the state and they're not being given back. Like, some people are getting deported without their children, and the state is fighting to keep their children. And that is the reality. And so people have to plan. I mean,
so protocol, strategy and protocol
beforehand. Now, if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, I'm undocumented, my husband's undocumented, my mom's undocumented, what have you, don't do anything else until you call a lawyer, make a consultation, have a safety plan, and have a family meeting about it. It is urgent.
The family meeting thing is real.
Yeah.
I think that luckily for me and my family, this is, I want to know, circa 2005, 2008, maybe I was in high school, like late middle school, early high school. We weren't in any real danger because we were in process, but we still had a meeting because again, my family, the benefit, the luck of my parents being college educated, my father would say, look at your skin color. You are at any point in time going to be a victim of something. So you have to be aware and prepare of the way that you fit into the world that you're living in. Mm-hmm. So for you to be naive or ignorant about that is doing you a disservice. You do not have the luxury of going out into the world and pretending like everything is fine. Because it's just not a reality. Now, can you be aware? Can you find yourself in a situation that's not, favorable and feel more prepared if we have this safety plan? Yes, but I remember we had like a plan. Who do we call first? Who do we call second? And this wasn't even about immigration most of the time. Sometimes it was like police brutality, or sometimes it was like, because again, even if you are, and this was going to be my second question, even if you do have a legal status and they detain you, now you can't go to work for a couple days until you figure out this. So what, talk to me about strategy there. Even if you are an H-1B visa, even if you are a permanent resident, even if you are a naturalized citizen, should you keep those documents with you nowadays? Should you still have a plan? Should you memorize the lawyers? Like, talk to me about that process.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is less of a risk. So, and I'll separate the categories. Someone who's on a work permit, H-1B maybe, but like TPS, asylum pending, DACA in Texas, all of those folks are at risk of having their work permits canceled because of some new stupid policy.
Right.
So being aware of the policy and knowing that you're still valid, and then carry your work permit on you. Green card holders, carry your valid green card on you. Citizens, either passport card, or, a driver's license should be fine for a citizen, and you can say, I'm a U.S. citizen. There have been, ProPublica just came out with a report. They've detained 170 U.S. citizens since January by ICE. And all of those people were Latino that were suspected, of citizenship issues.
Yeah, it's not some Ukrainian that's getting stopped, right?
Yeah, we know racism is
right. It's not some Italian on an expired work permit.
It used to be. There's this. This is actually. Can I?
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, go on a tangent.
Okay, so we are actually not in a new situation. We have been in an anti-immigrant place like this in this country multiple times, and it used to be like the English against the Germans or the Irish. And then, during the Industrial Revolution, we had a lot of Southern and Eastern Europeans. And there was this political cartoon of the era where they talk about Italian immigrants and what to do about them. Mm-hmm. And they depict the immigrants. It's this series of, it's like a cartoon with all these blocks. And so they say like, okay, here they are all just being lazy. And they're like, laying around. And then the middle one, they start to drink and they're drinking. And then the top right one, they start to fight and they're like stabbing each other.
Rowdy immigrants, yeah.
And then the bottom left this is how you round them up. And it's all these cops with these batons and they're putting them in this like caged paddy wagon.
Yeah.
And then the bottom right and this is how you dispose of them. And they are dropping that cage of Italian immigrants into the ocean.
Yeah.
And drowning them.
Wow.
And this was in the newspaper. it was like, 1880 probably was the era. And so, I mean, you say Italian now, like it's an absurdity that somebody would detain an Italian, a U.S. citizen of Italian descent. But it wasn't all that long ago that they were the Latinos of the era.
Right.
And so I guess, sometimes I actually take, not relief or comfort isn't the right word, but when I see that this is just a repeat of where we've been in the past, it helps me feel more sure that this is a blip on our radar and that we're going to come out of this era too. Because all the things that have been said about immigrants now, or that are said about immigrants now, have been said in the past. And we get through these periods each other time. Yeah,
I think I share that sentiment with you. I don't think that feeling assured or is the right word or anything like that. For me, providing historical context, it gives me a sense of purpose, maybe. And it reminds me that we've always really been morally ambiguous, and that the history books try to paint us as the adults in the room, and how we're going to be better. It's very aspirational. But once I kind of like peeled back the layer and I realized like, oh no, we've kind of always been in this like moral ambiguity. Like it's never been as like right or wrong. It's always been a little bit muddy. It actually makes me feel better about the work that I do. And it actually makes me feel, because then you get to learn about a lot of these people. You get to learn about, I'll take it outside of immigration. You get to learn about how Sojourner Truth was told not to go and speak, even though she's also, am I not a woman? Like you get to learn about all these like really, really, really small detail-oriented cases where like, sure, we can look at, the feminist movement and the voting rights, but it was still nuanced and it was still complicated and there was still concerns, and it makes it a little bit more real, and it makes me realize that despite the national rhetoric of identity politics and how it's bad or this and that, like we all identify with something and we all have an identity regardless, and it makes me feel better about where I stand a lot of those in a lot of those positions, which I think is a lot of the sentiment that you're sharing right now. To go back to the practicality of it all, what would you say to somebody that the friends? Because I think this is a good sticking point. Also, if you're undocumented, you need to have a plan. Mm-hmm. If you are on a work permit, you need to be aware of the restrictions, the nooks and crannies of your situation. If you have friends that are Hispanic, Latino, if you just so happen to know that they fall under some of these categories, what can you do? What should you do? You talked about protests earlier. You it's like give me your take on that side of the.
I think being loud about your support and your love and your appreciation for immigrants. The immigrants that I know, or just Hispanic people that I know, are so fatigued. And beat down and heartbroken, frankly, about the way that people are treating them and talking about them in this country, and not just Hispanic. I would say like people of color.
Sure.
And so, any of us who can just demonstrate our love and our appreciation in little ways throughout our days. I mean, whether it's like, giving gifts or sending sweet messages or running errands or saying something nice on social media, like just showing love. But then there's the practical stuff about be the ones that are out there at the protests with the biggest sign you can find. Understand what it is to be a witness to an enforcement action and do brave things. I am not a proponent of interfering with ICE actions. I actually think that endangers people. Okay. Not everybody agrees with me on that.
Okay.
Not all the activists and organizers agree with me on that. In my opinion, however, if you see an enforcement action happening, unless you're like an elected official who's intentionally getting in the way and filming it, a regular sort of lay person, I think should not physically interfere. I think a regular lay person should get out their camera, record everything, because these are human rights abuses, and constitutional laws are being violated, and there is going to be a point of reckoning against these ICE officers who are violating people's rights. But it can't happen if we don't have evidence.
Right.
So recording what you see, taking good notes, and then if you're seeing somebody get taken on the street, instead of yelling at the ICE officer, because they're not going to listen to you, talk to the person. Stay calm. Stay calm. Don't let yourself get involved in the emotion of it. You are the witness, and you are there to help. And yelling and screaming and freaking out doesn't help.
So ask for their name.
Ask what's your mom's name? Who do you want me to call? Do you need me to do anything? Talk to that person and provide your help, and record everything. And then, a lot of times justice has to come later.
The legal process is slow. It's a slow one. So in the moment, it might be more prudent to be more proactive and think about how long this will play out, as opposed to here in the moment, I need this person with a mask on to feel my wrath, because that's just not going to happen.
I mean, people have gotten killed in these incidents. Now, has ICE taken a gun and shot a U.S. citizen who's interfering? No, that would be all over the news. But people have gotten run over. They've fallen out of cars.
Right.
ICE certainly believes that they are under threat. I mean, look at, the shooting in Dallas, where the only people who died were the immigrant detainees, and yet the messaging from ICE to the American public was, we're under attack. There was a shooter at our facility.
Right.
Their mentality, as wrong as it is that they are the victims.
Yeah.
And so if you give them any reason to become violent, they will do it.
Which is rich, coming from the no victim mentality group, right?
Yeah. And so it's just, we got to think about how to be very actually useful and not just angry.
Great. Well, Kate, that was really helpful. That was incredible. I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you for your time. We're gonna let you lead off into this camera. Let everybody know where they can find you. Where they can and also to go vote, and where they can find you, the whole nine. You can look directly into that camera.
Great. So my name is Kate Lincoln Goldfinch, and my Instagram handle is KLG4Texas. I'm running for Texas House of Representatives. The primary is March 3rd, but also if you're interested in immigration content, you can follow me on Instagram. I do daily videos en inglés y español. Tengo shows en vivo donde contesto preguntas sobre casos de inmigración. I'm here to help you guys. We're doing free consultations for the community, virtual law firm. We have appointments on Saturdays. We're doing everything we can. We're taking El Voz Sin Fronteras out into the community. So we're here to support you, and give me a follow. And if you're interested in ways that we can collaborate, just send me a DM.
Perfect. That was incredible. On our end over here, everybody, please remember we are entirely self-funded. So if you can give us a like, share, subscription, send this to your friends. This episode is incredibly important for us because our name is predicated on a lot of the themes that we've been talking about here. The reason we're called degenerates is because as immigrants, we often get labeled as degenerates. So we take it a point of pride to flip that on its head. I know that we do a lot of father, and we talk about a lot of silly things, but at the root of it all, we can't escape this part of our reality. So if you can give us a follow, that would be incredible. Thank you so much for your time. Until next time, see you guys later.